Hallihallo, willkommen zu einem kleinen Bonuspart. Hey Chief. Und zwar habe ich jetzt hier nachträglich noch die Relikte, die hier fehlten, gesammelt und die, von denen ihr noch keinen Wiki-Eintrag gelesen habt, die, ja, sind jetzt natürlich auch hier. Und ich werde dazu jedem einzelnen, ich werde zu jedem einzelnen Wiki-Vortrag jetzt noch abspielen, damit ihr noch ein bisschen was zu lachen habt eben. Gewissermaßen noch die letzte Geschichtsstunde mit Johnny. Viel Spaß!
Oh, you'll appreciate this, being a former altar boy and all, I assume. And this is the head of Pope John the 12th. Well, the shrunken head. At least, I hope it's been shrunk. If not, then I imagine he had trouble wearing his Pope hat. Anyways, turns out Lil John here was the only Darkness host to ever become Pope, which should explain why he's considered one of the worst popes of all time, though, ironically, not one of the worst hosts. You'd think the Darkness would have used the papacy to run rampant, but honestly, John the 12th spent most of his time disemboweling his deacons and boning up on the ladies. Actually, never mind. Now that I think about it, he did summon a few not-so-minor lust demons into the Vatican, then turned it into a brothel. And by brothel, I mean charnel house, a.k.a. place where dead bodies are dug up and stored after their graves are more or less desecrated. So, yeah, Pope John XII was a huge dick, in more ways than one. Small side note, I have it on good authority that 3 of those demons are still around doing their thing. So, do yourself a favor and never take a naked tour of the Sistine Chapel. Not that they offer one still. Just don't.
Ah ja. Sukkubusse im Vatikan oder Sukkubi. Wie ist der Plural von Succubus? Schreibt's in die Kommentare. Ah ja. Keinen habe ich schon gezeigt, aber die Schwestern des Lichts.
You know, Jackie, you bring me the nicest things. Your methods could be a little less mass murdery, but who am I to argue? Anyway, you wanted to know about this piece. It looks like a panel from the Metatron Steely, I don't know, we're gonna say steel, okay? Which would be amazing if it weren't impossible. See, the Metatron steel was carried down from heaven by Enoch, way back at the start of time. This wasn't easy. The steel was a stone slab, carved directly from the seed of creation. On it was inscribed every revelation Enoch witnessed in heaven. The amount of knowledge contained on just an inch of this thing would shatter our every notion of creation. So, of course, someone fucking lost it. Lucky for us, someone else was smart enough to copy it. Well, parts of it. This is one of those parts. It's called the Sister of Light, and it's pretty important, at least concerning you. Think back to Genesis. There were only 2 things in the beginning, light and dark. The Bible says God separated the 2, turning light into day and darkness into night. But in actuality, the darkness just stayed the darkness, and the light became the Angelus, or, as it was once known, the Sister of Light. What is the Angelus? Well, not to bum you out, but according to legend, it's your other half, Jackie, and all it wants is to rip you open and burn away the darkness. Yeesh. There's just not an easy way to lay that on somebody.
Ja, der Angelus. Den haben wir ja auch gesehen. Nicht gerade unansehnlich. Ah, hier was.
Okay, Jackie, time for a quick history lesson. Buddhism was founded by Siddhartha Gautama. I don't even know if that's the right pronunciation, just go with it. Siddhartha led an extraordinary life, but for our purposes, his death is what's important. History says Siddhartha announced his imminent death at the age of 80. Immediately after making this announcement, he ate his last meal. It was an offering made by a blacksmith. Siddhartha then became ill and died. Obviously there was more to it, but I'm not here to teach Religion 101. Those are the main points. Before dying, Siddhartha made sure his followers knew that the blacksmith had nothing to do with his death, because, from all accounts, Siddhartha was a pretty stand-up guy. Unfortunately, he was way off on this one. The blacksmith totally poisoned him. And that's not all. He also gave Siddhartha water from his pitcher. This pitcher. As you can guess, this is no normal pitcher. This pitcher works like a soul pump. Drinking out of it creates a mystical vacuum inside the jar. Stop drinking, and your soul is whooshed into the clay, where it remains until the magic is broken. The magic on this relic is unbelievably strong. It's held for over 2,000 years, and that's why this relic has earned the name Siddharthas Tears, because Siddhartha is still trapped inside. Who'd do such a thing to such a nice guy like Siddhartha? I think you already know. The darkness is the enemy of peace and unity. Its wrath is not always violent, but it is cold and unyielding. Just like Siddharthas Tears. Or the Red Sox.
Ja, die Red Sox, die nicht hier aufgeschrieben werden, so mal beiseite, aber wieso schlägt da niemand den Krug, wenn da drin sich tatsächlich Buddhas Geist befindet? Abgesehen davon, naja, offenbar geht davon aus, dass tatsächlich der Tod von Siddhartha an einer Lebensmittelvergiftung war. Was ist das da oben? Ah ja, der entsetzliche Schlund. Ich weiß auch nicht. Ich werde aus dem Ding nicht schlau.
Now this, oh yeah, this is the good stuff. The Abysmal Maw. Dark magic at its sexiest. Jeez, I'm getting hot just looking at it. The Abysmal Maw, or the Mawsome, as I like to call it, was carved directly from the gates of hell. Grip it in your right hand and say the magic words, and the maw will unleash a blast of pure hellfire. Do you know what hellfire does? It destroys everything! And everything it destroys goes straight to hell. You could have killed Mother Teresa with this, and she even would have burned for eternity. The thing is, every time you use the maw, it burns away part of your soul as well. Most people only get 3 or 4 blasts before they wake up in hell. Theoretically, a darkness host could probably use it ad nauseum, you know, since your soul is already kinda in hell. Unfortunately, the maw no longer works because someone misplaced the magic words. Records show the Brotherhood were the last users of the maw, sometime around World War II. That means it's their fault that the world is far less awesome than it used to be. It almost makes me want to cry! You know, maybe next time before you tear 5 or 10 of them apart, you could, I don't know, ask if they remember the words?
Ja, ja, natürlich. Komisches Ding. Und das ist so eine Art antike Schusswaffe. Also ich sehe 4 Halterungen für Hände. Sieht aus wie ein Schlagring mit einem riesigen Potter vorne drauf. Was soll das? Das ist es auch noch so aus Ton. Ja, der Namenlose.
You want to know how the Brotherhood got to be the fun-loving psychos they are today? It's all thanks to you. Well, thanks to the darkness. There was one time, only one time, that the Brotherhood succeeded in trapping the darkness, and it drove them insane. The darkness is not to be fucked with, and even when in prison, it is a force to be reckoned with. For decades, the Brotherhood watched over the siphon, the darkness stirring within it, perverting their minds. It wasn't long before the Brotherhood decided the only way to save the world was to destroy it. Gee, wonder who gave him that idea. There was one brother who stood firm against the taint. No, not that kind of taint. Get your mind out of the gutter. Focus! His faith was so ironclad, the darkness couldn't touch him. When he learned what his fellow brothers planned to do, he knew there was only one option. He set the darkness free. Now, this didn't make the Angelus happy. No, she returned to the earth just so she could deliver the granddaddy of all smitings. That one faithful brother was reduced to ash just moments after he'd saved the world. The Angelus's rage burned so hot, it consumed the brother's soul entirely. He stopped the Brotherhood from destroying all creation, and in return, he became the first human to ever meet non-existence. In all of heaven and earth, the only thing left of him are these ashes. The ashes of the unnamed. Kinda lends credence to that saying, no good deed goes unpunished.
Der Angelus ist aber... Oder die Angelus... Ach, ist ein verdammtes Arsch. Ganz ehrlich.
I hope you're not in a good mood, because if you are, I promise this is gonna shit all over it. This is the Lantern of St. Anthony, possibly the most misidentified item ever created. I don't mean people look at this lamp and say, that is a very luminescent club sandwich. What I mean is, most people see this lantern as a symbol of hope, but really, it's a symbol of soul-crushing despair. Now, the outer casing is only 80 years old, but the light inside the lantern goes back, about 1,000 years. In her war against the darkness, the Angelus sought an ever-burning light. She gathered the souls of 100 children butchered by the darkness, and bound them within a glass sphere. This combined lightness of being produced a blindingly powerful light, but only when the dead children felt like it. Turns out kids are fickle little bitches. The Angelus abandoned the sphere, totally apathetic towards the children still trapped inside. The sphere remained lost for quite some time until it was discovered by St. Anthony, the patron saint of lost things. Go figure! Anthony fastened it onto a lantern, believing it to be a gift from God. He was convinced the light would guide a traveler home, but usually it just led them over a cliff or into a bog. So yeah, St. Anthony used this lantern to unknowingly kill hundreds of innocent travelers, all because the Angelus thought the imprisoned souls of murdered children would make a cool weapon. Yay!
Okay. Okay. Müsste das Ding nicht... Ich weiß nicht, brennen, wenn... egal.
I hunger for blood! Okay, that was weird. That was weird.
Ja. Ist gut, Johnny. Halt die Klappe. Ja, warte mal. Blinde Sonne, die Offenbarung. Ja.
Oh, you feel that? This thing's hidden an 11 out of 10 on my creepy meter. Just being near it, it feels like I got worms under my skin. Worms that are creeped out as I am because they got worms under their skin. Am I painting a clear enough picture? You may look at this and see an iron mask. Just a common torture device used to humiliate someone. It didn't cause any physical pain. It was just a symbol. If a person was dirty, their mask looked like a pig. If they fucked around, it looked like something that fucked around. I don't know, a rabbit. Okay, now if you look closely at this mask, you'll see it kind of looks like a demon. Makes sense since it was worn by a former darkness host. Maybe you heard of him? Vlad the Impaler, better known as Dracula. Not many people can claim they were the source material for a famous monster. In fact, I only know of two. This guy and Helen Keller. What you don't realize is that this mask isn't creepy because Vlad wore it. It's creepy because he wore it voluntarily. He wanted everyone to know exactly who was coming to impale them on a giant fucking spike. And, just to add insult to an insanely painful mortal injury, do you know what he named his mask? The Mark of Cain. As if to say, that's right bitches, I'm unkillable. This might be the most fashionable fuck you in the history of man.
Ist mir neu. Vlad wurde übrigens enthauptet. Ja. Herrscher der Walachei für 15. Jahrhundert. Und hat sich sehr gut gegen die Osmanen geschlagen. Aber hier.
Ooh, the Deceivers Grasp. The third most infamous glove of all time, right behind the sparkly one and the one that didn't fit. The Deceivers Grasp was designed to be used in conjunction with the Abysmal Maw. If you don't know, the Maw was a mystical hand cannon that shot pure hellfire, but consumed the user's soul in the process. It only took a few thousand damage before someone got the idea to protect themselves from the Maw's side effects, and so the Deceiver's Grasp was forged as a sort of damnation contraceptive for your hand. Current theory holds that the Brotherhood created the glove, which would make sense, since it employs a rather nasty bit of transference magic. See, when laced with the blood of another living person, the glove allows you to wield the maw without having your soul burnt away, whereas the poor sap whose blood you used will spend eternity cozied up beside the fires of hell. Come to think of it, a better name for this thing would have been the Asshole's Bait and Switch, or my slimy brother Ted. It doesn't sound as ominous, I admit, but it's just so damn accurate.
Sieht man nicht so gut, sieht ein bisschen Metallplatten oder irgend sowas. Ja, sieht relativ ordinär aus. Okay, dann zum Säbel. Sonnensäbel.
Ah, the Crescent of the Sun. Considered by many to be the greatest mystery and biggest letdown of the past millennium. You know, if you don't count Rocky V. The Crescent was wielded by the Angelus, approximately 800 years ago, for half an hour. She claimed it was forged from a single drop of the sun's flame, that it would bring about the final end of the darkness. What she forgot to mention, however, is how the Crescent would do this, which is important because she never got a chance to use it. Carrying it into battle against the darkness, she was immediately disemboweled. A bit anticlimactic for sure, but it only gets worse. A few years later, the Crescent was rediscovered by a holy warrior. Once again, the blade was wielded against the darkness. This time, it even managed to get a few good swings. But you know what? The blade passed through the darkness, like a knife through water. Later, after monks recovered the Crescent from the warrior's corpse, it was tested against multiple targets. Turns out the blade passes through all matter. People, stone, trees, kittens, just whoosh, goes right through. No harm, no foul. Could be only the Angelus can wield the Crescent, but if so, why has she never tried to reclaim it? Personally, I think the Angelus talked a big game. It was just as surprised as everyone else when the Crescent turned out to be worthless. Which begs the question, where did the Crescent come from? I got no idea. But I hope she kept the receipt.
Okay. Also wird dann gesagt, ein Schwert, das überhaupt nichts schneidet. Wow, größte Verarsche aller Zeiten. Noch ein Säbel? Jetzt bin ich gespannt. Ich glaube, das ist ein indisches Tor. Genau, dieser Rondell-Dingens da hinten ist ziemlich charakteristisch dafür. Das da hinten. Ja, Sarazenensäbel, irgendwas. Hat was Orientalisches vom Design her. Kann ich jetzt aber nicht so genau einer Kultur zuordnen. Aber das hier ist ziemlich sicher ein indisches Tor. Gegen diese Rundscheibe.
Okay. Jeez. First off, holy shit. Second, do you know what these are? These are Af and Hema. That ring any bells? No? Okay. Well, then let me put it this way. There are 6 angels of death. You are currently holding 2 of them. Yeah. Okay. Their names are Af and Hema. Roughly, they translate to wrath and anger. It was on the 7th level of heaven that God bound Af and Hema with chains of fire and shadow, which was no small feat, mind you. These weren't your run-of-the-mill chubby cherubs. You know, the Af and Hema were roughly the size of a large volcano and packed 10 times the firepower. All right. Then again, God being God, you know, I guess it wasn't really a fair fight. But whatever. I'm getting off topic. Okay. As the story goes, the Angelus asked God for a weapon to aid her war against the darkness. God was in a giving mood that day, so he reforged Af and Hema into the flames of creation, alright? Tempering them down into blades. These blades, these, right here. Now, some say the angels are still alive within the blades, and I tend to agree. Try all you like, but you can't separate them. No. Try taking only one of them out of this room. It might slip out of your hand, or you might just drop dead of a stroke. Now, you never know, but they will not be parted. We're talking peanut butter and jelly. Ham and cheese level of commitment here, man. Somewhere, somehow, Af and Hema are still bound by the the chains of fire and shadow.
Okay. Wir haben hier also 2 Todesengel oder Erzengel. 2? Also wieder Wort gesagt, die eine Schneide, die sich hier, gezackte Schneide, die sich hier rüberzieht. Dann die Trennung mehr oder weniger, die dann 2 Entitäten quasi trennt und darstellt. Dann hier wieder diese Zacken. Okay. Ja. Macht Sinn. Naja, das ist hier noch. Genau. Ganz vergessen. Oh, besser.
Wow, okay, shit, where do I start? What you got here is the first. As you can guess by its name, this thing goes way back, like way back to the beginning. You're a good Catholic boy, so I know you remember the story of Cain and Abel, how Abel was like, oh, God loves me, and Cain was like, jealousy, wham, and killed him with this. That's right, you're the new proud owner of murder stick number 1, so congrats, I guess. Now, the story goes that God was so pissed that he marked Cain, set him walking the earth forever, unable to die, but that's only half true. See, Cain brought murder into our world, back in when it was, still new and teeming with free-range evil. This made him a target for certain dark influences, if you catch my emphasis. Even if Cain was a brother-murdering jackass, God wasn't gonna let the darkness run a train on him, so he made Cain unkillable. As you know, the darkness deals in death. If Cain couldn't die, the darkness couldn't take him. Not a bad move on God's part. But God doesn't just hand out free prizes, especially for murdering your brother. So he set Cain to a task, cleaning up all that leftover darkness from before creation. Unfortunately for Cain, unkillable did not mean immortal, but that's a different story altogether.
Das ist mir etwas zu haarspalterisch. Aber ja, unsterblich und ewiges Leben sind, würde ich sagen, auch 2 Entitäten. Elben zum Beispiel, Herr der Ringe, kennt ihr, sind nicht unsterblich. Sie leben nur ewig, weil man kann ihnen ein Messer durchs Herz rammen und sie sind tot. Aufs Finito. Es ist nicht unsterblich. So etwas wie Gott oder eben Jehova, nennt ihn wie ihr wollt, das ist unsterblich, untötbar, unangreifbar, allmächtig. Aber ja, das sind Finessen. Ja. Ja, ich vergesse mich. Interessant, in den Bildern hat keiner bei einen Holzknüppel, was ich irgendwie wesentlich logischer fände. Ich meine, das hier sieht aus wie Metall, also Metallverarbeitung, ein Griff und dergleichen. Vielleicht hatten sie ja schon Messer, aber so ein Holzprügel, das passt irgendwie besser ins Bild. Zumindest optisch. Ja du, stille Nacht.
You can't tell by looking at it, but this simple strip of iron is one of the worst torture devices ever devised. It's one of the 12 infamous purification rituals used by the Brotherhood the first time they ever tried to steal the darkness. The Brotherhood simply referred to it as the Fourth, but over time it earned the name the Silent Night. It's easy to see why. A long time ago, the Brotherhood stole a darkness host at birth. They then raised him as one of their own, only to torture and kill him in an attempt to force the darkness out. This strip was forced into that unfortunate host's mouth, keeping it open. It was then wrapped around his jaw, leaving a slit where his tongue was inserted. The gag was then slowly tightened. The first thing it did was slice off the host's tongue. But then the gag was tightened further, and it completely shattered and dislocated his jaw. You think that's horrible? Keep in mind, the host had yet to manifest the darkness. He didn't know what he was. The Brotherhood had raised him since birth to believe he was one of their own. Imagine, the only family you've ever known, subjecting you to the most painful, degrading acts they can imagine, and they don't even tell you why. I don't want to sound like I'm going soft, but it seems to me like that'd be the worst torture of all. Anyway, the darkness manifested right as the host's jaw snapped. They say it killed every person within a league of the Brotherhood's monastery that day. Then, the host vanished, never to be seen again. Now, we don't even know his name.
Interessant. Ja gut, Autoregeneration. Da ist er vielleicht wieder nachher ganz geworden. Was haben wir hier? Das Phylakterium des Narnia schon gelesen. Ja, das Prism der
Holy
Brüder.
shit, Jackie, this is big. This is really big. You know how the siphon of the Angelus was designed to hold the darkness? Well, this is the Prism of the Brothers, and it's meant to hold the Angelus. After the darkness escaped the siphon, the Brotherhood vanished for a long time. So long, in fact, it was believed that they disbanded. But no, the siphon of the Angelus had been lost to them. Without it, they couldn't make good on their plan to shroud the world in darkness. Instead, they decided to burn the world with light, so they built this. When the darkness in Angelus re-emerged during World War II, the Brotherhood was waiting for them. Don't ask me how, because I sure as hell got no idea, but the Brotherhood defeated the Angelus, trapping her inside the Prism. Okay? Where, according to legend, she remains today. But here's the thing, Jackie. I'm looking at this prism right now, and I'm not picking up a thing. No holy essence, no dark magic, nothing. The Angelus is not inside the prism. In fact, it never even touched it. If I can be honest, this scares the living fuck out of me. The Angelus has not been seen on our world in 70 years. We thought it was because she was trapped in this. But she's not, Jackie. She's still out there. Where the fuck is she?
Tja, wenn wir das nur wüssten. Das hier. Kann ich... Gefäß des gesegneten Blutes.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you about this particular relic, but you gotta promise me something. No matter what I tell you, you can't let this get weird, okay? Okay? Okay. This is the reliquary of the Blessed Blood. It is said to contain a relic of untold worth, an object of unfathomable holiness, a preserved piece of flesh from the Messiah himself. Yes, that's right. We're talking about the foreskin of Jesus Christ. Except, here's the thing. There is someone's foreskin inside this reliquary. It just didn't belong to the holy member. It actually belonged to a guy named Miles from South Hamiltonshire. Don't ask how I know this, I just do. I'm an occultist, alright? Just forget about the foreskin. The foreskin is a distraction. There was nothing important about the foreskin, and we should both just forget it ever happened. Moving on! The container is what's so important here, okay? See, the darkness isn't the only power the Brotherhood wants to harness. They're just as interested in the Angelus. This reliquary was their first attempt to create a vessel that could hold the Angelus. It was a total failure. All it did was piss off the Angelus, and when she's pissed, she does like to burn things. Still, there's dark magic in here. Magic best hidden from certain people. And turning it into a impossibly ridiculous foreskin holder was a good way to do that. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go scrub my memory with bleach and steel wool.
Ja, ja. Ist auch lustig, wenn man bedenkt, dass das Christentum eigentlich zuerst eine jüdische Sekte war, aber die Beschneidung abgeschafft hat. Ich meine, es ist keine christliche Tradition mehr, männliche Kinder zu beschneiden. Auch noch. Das ist noch interessant erleben. Ich glaube, das hat etwas damit zu tun, dass man so leichter reformieren konnte. Mal sehen. Ja genau, ich habe wieder die Reliktliste. Ja, das Ding ist halt... Ach so, doch, hier sind wir die noch 3D-Modelle davon. Hoffe, es sieht einigermaßen. Kann ich mir irgendwie auch nicht ganz vorstellen. Was ist das hier? Ach so, da vorne wäre dann die Zunge da. Grandios. Ja. Ich denke, ich lasse hier noch schnell die 3D-Modelle kursieren. Ja. Und mache dann nachher noch die Blutrachen dazu, denke ich. Aber daraus mache ich dann eine eigene Playlist, denke ich. Und ja, hoffe, dass ich Luke noch an Bord bekomme für ein paar Blutrachen. Ich denke, ich kann es nochmal sagen. Das wären dann eben Co-op Hard Mode Missionen, mehr oder weniger. Und ich denke, das könnte doch ganz lustig werden. Der Sonnensäbel. Dieses Töpferei-Gedingesens hat sogar noch so einen Stern drauf. Komisches Ding. Der Schädel muss auch cool aussehen. Ja gut, eigentlich haben wir die ja von den besten Seiten jeweils gesehen. Einfach, ja, zum Beispiel ist der Handschuh jetzt nicht so gut präsentiert in der Kammer. Oh, wie ihr seht, 29 von 29. Wir haben alles. Und damit bedanke ich mich nochmals fürs Zusehen. Und wir sehen uns beim nächsten Mal bei einem anderen Projekt. Oder bei den Blutrachen, wie ich sagte. Macht's gut und tschüss.